Felicitous greetings, fellow fanatics. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Alexandr, and today we're taking a look at Project Eos Rise, a cooperative sandbox space opera adventure by Random World Games. I did a preview of this one a while back. I made a couple of mistakes in that video, and there's also been some changes as it was a prototype. Today we're going to be taking a full look at the finished version, so without any further ado, let's dive in. In Project Eos Rise, 1 to 4 players will be working together to find a new world habitable for humanity before mass extinction wipes out all life on Earth. You'll be able to gather information on the location of a potential home by delivering cargo, collecting bounties on hostile aliens, piecing together fast radio bursts from friendly aliens, and if you have the mini expansion, by exploring strange new worlds. To set up, begin by deciding who will take each role. There should be a commander, a pilot, an engineer, and a combat specialist. If there are less than 4 players, then someone will control multiple characters. Each player should take the character board for their respective role. Next, shuffle each of the decks. There should be 14 in all, 3 alien ship decks, 4 event decks, 4 mission decks, and the damage, contract, and technology decks. If using the away missions mini expansion, also shuffle the deck for that. Place tokens and dice within reach of all players, and give each player 1 white skill die to start. Take 4 star markers and place them at the start of each track on the sides of the board: Funding, Intel, Extinction, and Progress. Also, place the Paradise Planet token on the end of the Progress track. Reaching and placing this token will trigger the endgame, allowing you a chance at victory. Take 8 credits to start. These don't belong to any specific player, and purchases should be agreed upon as a team. Next, take 2 sand blue cubes and place them on the top of the hull tracks for the engine room and the command room. Give the rest to the engineer. These will be important later. Place the 5 unbuilt room tiles over their respective rooms. If playing with away missions, also place the shuttle room card face down near the board. Next, take the bag of alien ships and make sure to mix them up, keeping the bag within reach of all players. Make sure that the space station cards are in reach as well. Then, take 9 shield tokens, placing them onto the shield control room. 2 should go onto the first slot, 3 on the second, and 4 on the third. Now, players should gather the components for each of their characters. Take your skill marker and place it on the leftmost slot of the character board. Next, take the lightning bolt token and place it on the stress marker spot with 3 bolts. This is the maximum stress your character can withstand at the start of the game, but can be increased later. Note that the combat specialist is a little better at handling stress than the others at the beginning of the game. Next, take the cargo token for each player and set it on the contract spot at the bottom left of their board. Assistant tokens should be given to the commander, to potentially be handed out later. Next, give each character a random personal mission from their respective deck. Character only gets 1 mission per game. They're usually pretty tricky to fulfill, but they give great rewards if you can manage it. Next, give each character the cubes that matches their color and place them into the reserve on their board. Also give the white calibration cubes to the engineer and have them do the same with them. Next, set up the redeployment track by placing a fast radio burst, or FRB, token into the first slot, a skill token on the second, and a credit on the third. Also, randomly draw an alien ship and place 1 on each of the 4 slots. Now take the 2 standard dice. We'll be using these for the rest of setup to determine random locations, and this will persist throughout the game. First, take the D6 and roll 4 times. For the first roll, place the yellow space station in the matching galaxy in Sector 9. Repeat the process for the pink station in Sector 12, the green in Sector 15, and finally, the blue in Sector 18. From now on, when rolling for location, use both the D20 and the D6 at the same time. The D20 determines which sector, and the D6 represents which galaxy within that sector. Note that inner galaxies are part of multiple sectors, making them more likely to come up. During setup, any 20s are re-rolled, but later will trigger mass invasions. More on that in a little bit. We're going to roll for location a little over a dozen times during setup to get things started. First, roll twice to place 2 random alien ships in the universe. Next, do this 5 more times to place asteroid fields. After that, thrice more for skill tokens, and then you'll also want to place FRB tokens. For an easy game, place 5. For normal difficulty, place 4. For hard, place 3. Or for impossible, place 2. Finally, roll 1 last time to determine the Eos start location, with the caveat that the Eos cannot start with any other tokens. You get a location that is already occupied, roll again. Now you're ready to begin your journey through the stars. The game takes place over the course of 7 rounds, and if you manage to collect enough FRBs, then you'll eventually have a final dash as well. In addition to gaining FRBs via the appropriate tokens, you may also gain them by advancing along the intel track. Each time you reach the end of the track, you'll advance the progress track the same as if you had collected an FRB. Each of the standard rounds consists of 9 phases, beginning with the planning phase. This is when you'll put your heads together and try to form a plan for the upcoming round. That's all you'll do in the first round, but in later rounds, you'll also be able to replenish spent power cubes, scrap technology cards, and if someone was on the deep space scanner last round, you'll collect the appropriate reward. Next comes the crew actions phase. This is where the majority of your decisions will be made. Players have no set order and may act as they see fit by placing their crew token on a spot to take an appropriate action. At the onset of the game, this will be fairly limited. The command room allows you to train and advance your skill level by moving 1 space to the right. Normally, this doesn't involve further decision making, but once a character reaches the advanced skill tracks, represented by the 3 forking paths, you'll choose one of those and an advanced room for your character. Each character gains various abilities to further their specialties as they level up, including gaining more dice for use in combat. The commander will gain access to stress relief pills, which prevents stress from rising, and can also unlock assistance to double the number of actions players can take. The pilot is responsible for charting the Eos path each round, and can increase the ship's speed as they improve. Combat Specialist is the most efficient crew member in combat and can obtain missiles which add extra damage against enemies. And finally, the Engineer is the only one able to make repairs outside of the crew actions phase. It allows more rooms to be built as they level up. Which brings us to the Command Center's other action, building rooms. To build a room, you'll need to pay the appropriate number of credits, then remove the matching tile that blocks off that room. More on those in a moment. You'll always have access to the shield charge room, where you can collect shield tokens to protect against enemy attacks. In the engine room, the repair action allows you to repair 3 hull points. This can be applied to any room or rooms of the player's choice. You'll also have basic treatment, which reduces the crew member's stress by 3 points. They cannot go past the max stress relief level as determined by the commander's current skill level, and they cannot use an assistant for this action. You can't send someone else to the doctor for your checkup, after all. Depending on which rooms you unlock, you'll also have other options. The medical room works identically to the basic treatment action, but relieves 5 stress instead of 3. The crafting room allows you to draw a technology card and place it at the bottom of your character board until it's either used or sold. Some tech cards will also provide instant rewards listed on the bottom left. Take the appropriate reward immediately. Once the cargo bay is open, if you don't currently have a contract underway, you may draw a contract card, then roll to place your cargo token on the map to determine where you must take it. Again, if the bottom left has any on pickup rewards, take those immediately. If you later manage to reach your destination, you'll gain the on-delivery rewards and then discard the card. Each crew member may have their own contract, but you may not take a new contract until your current one is finished. If you build the mining station, you can launch a mining drone. To launch drone, choose an asteroid field up to 2 warp lanes away that currently doesn't have a drone and place it there. This will provide you with income throughout the game. If you have the deep space scanner, you can activate it to move the token up 1 space. You don't gain any immediate rewards, but you'll be able to collect them in the next planning phase. If you're at a space station, the crew can also use the 3 actions unique to that space station. These can be very powerful, but you cannot use the actions of a single space station on 2 consecutive turns. Finally, if playing with the away missions, you'll also be able to unlock the shuttle room to allow up to 2 characters to attempt an away mission. Assistants may participate in these missions, but you cannot have a crew member and their respective assistant on the same mission. To perform an away mission, reveal the top card of the deck. If there's an instant reward, claim it immediately. This sometimes includes the ability to shift tokens, which can give you a chance to manipulate enemy ships, skill tokens, or asteroid fields that have been placed. After that, roll the skill dice of the deployed crew members and try to match as many symbols as you can, going from left to right. Blast symbols count as wilds, and stress symbols cause the respective crew member to take that much stress, even if their assistant is the one on the mission. As you progress along the track, you'll gain the rewards along the way, but you must fulfill them in order. This can provide you with credits, skill levels, or intel as normal, and also has this symbol, which can be used to replenish power cubes. After players are finished taking their actions, you'll move on to the warp phase, where the pilot will decide how the Eos will move through the galaxy. At the onset of the game, you'll only be able to warp 1 lane per round, but as the pilot upgrades their skills, you'll be able to use afterburners to get a temporary boost or even increase your base speed up to 5 lanes. When moving into a space, different things happen depending on what tokens are there. There's an asteroid field there, you'll draw a damage card and the engineer must immediately apply that much damage to the Eos hull for each asteroid token. If there's a cargo token, the respective player will reclaim the token, claim the rewards listed on their contract card, then discard the contract card. If there are any hostile aliens, the combat specialist will draw a card from the matching alien ship deck, then discard the ship token. This will become important in the next phase where you'll attempt to fight against these enemies. If you come across any credit, skill, or FRB tokens that are not guarded by an enemy ship, you'll immediately claim them. However, if there's a hostile alien in the same space, and when drawing the card for them, you'll place those tokens on the enemy card in question. If there's more than one alien ship guarding the same token, place the tokens from that space on the ship with the highest hull value. After you're finished moving, if you engage any enemies during the warp phase, then you'll move on to the Eos Attack Phase. Elsewise, you'll skip this phase and move on to the Alien Movement Phase. If you're attacking enemies, begin by choosing which crew members will take part in the current combat round. This will determine who rolls skill dice during the attack. More dice means a higher chance of overcoming your foes, but also increases the risk of taking stress. The combat specialist then draws combat cards according to the blast icons on their skill sheet. They start with the ability to draw 2 cards per combat round, but this may increase up to 6 depending on their skills. After drawing cards, you may choose to focus a target. In order to focus a target, first check to see if any cards you drew have the same target: array, converter, core, or terminal. If so, a crew member may choose to take the stress in the top right corner to link it to another card, meaning that if the other card is activated, this one will automatically fire on the same target as well. If the commander has unlocked their stress relief pills, you may spend 1 cube to negate the stress costs. Regardless of whether or not you choose to focus a target, all crew members participating in the current attack roll their skill dice. If players have any effects which manipulate dice, you may use them now. After making those decisions, any crew with stress icons on their dice takes stress equal to the number of lightning symbols they rolled. If a crew member reaches maximum stress, they immediately move 3 spaces backwards along the skill track, then reset their stress to the maximum level as indicated by the commander's current skill. After that, you'll assign skill dice to the damage cards. Pill, warp, and repair symbols must be matched, but blast symbols count as wilds. This means that, unsurprisingly, the combat specialist has a notable advantage with their advanced dice. For each card that you successfully activated, assign it, and any cards linked to it by focus fire, to an alien ship. If you manage to exceed the whole value of any alien ships, claim the rewards on the bottom left corner of their cards, as well as any tokens they may have had on them, then discard the card in question. If any hostiles survive your volley, they'll retaliate. If the players have any shield tokens, the commander may choose to cover up dice symbols on the alien cards with them. Each symbol requires a single shield to block it. After the commander has finished assigning shield tokens, roll the d6. If any surviving alien ships have that number, and it isn't covered by a shield, those ships damage the Eos for the value in their top right corner. As usual, the engineer may divide this among any rooms as they like. Bear in mind that if the command room hits 0, the Eos is destroyed and the game is lost. If the engine room hits 0, the Eos cannot move. If any other room hits 0, then its actions cannot be used until it's repaired. After that, discard any shield tokens that were used. At this point, if alien ships remain, the crew must decide whether they wish to retreat or press the attack. If they decide to continue fighting, then they'll push on by restarting the phase, but will keep damage cards that have hit and been assigned to alien ships. If the Eos retreats, then the aliens will get 1 more attack. RPG players may have PSTD triggered by attacks of opportunity here. Roll the d6 once more as before. If any damage is dealt, this time you'll also check the Extinction track, and if the current space has a modifier above it, you'll add that to the damage as well. After that, discard any remaining alien cards, but do not claim their rewards. If they had an FRB token, roll for a location to respawn it, and discard any skill or credit tokens that were unclaimed. After that, you'll move on to the alien ship phase, wherein you'll draw a card for each class of the hostile ship on the board to determine how they move. In the top right corner of the card, you'll see either the Eos or an FRB icon. If it shows the Eos, then that class of ship will move closer to the Eos itself. If it has the FRB icon, it'll move to the nearest FRB token. In either case, they'll stop moving if they reach their chosen target. If any ships reach the Eos during this movement, draw a card from the matching deck and discard the ship's token. After all alien ships have moved, if any ships are attacking the Eos, then you'll move on to the alien's attack phase. The Eos does not get to fire back during this phase. However, the commander does get a chance to assign shields, then roll the d6 once. As before, apply the damage of all successful attacks, then add the value of the Extinction modifier just as you would for retreat during the Eos Attack Phase. Aliens only attack once during this phase, then are discarded. Next, you'll move on to the Redeploy phase, wherein alien ships and rewards will respawn onto the map. For each ship on the redeploy track, roll the d6 and the d20 to determine their spawn location along with any token that may be beside them. If at any point after setup you roll a d20 for a location roll, not just for aliens or redeployment, add a random ship to the mass invasion space. After placing the 4 ships from the redeployment zone, if there are any ships in the mass invasion spot, spawn them as well. After that, if any alien ships spawn on the Eos current location, they'll perform an attack just like the previous phase. If they were carrying any reward tokens, then the Eos will claim them if it avoids all damage. Otherwise, you'll re-roll to spawn them on the board. Either way, alien ships and cards are discarded after the attack as normal. The penultimate part of a normal round is the Extinction and Event phase. First, you'll advance the Extinction marker 1 spot. If 7 years have passed without locating the Paradise Planet, then the players have failed and the game is lost. Otherwise, you'll draw an event card according to the current sector the ship is in. This can cause any number of positive or negative effects to occur, as each sector has its own deck of unique cards which have varying outcomes. You may gain or lose skill levels, gain or lose credits, spawn new asteroid fields, and more. And finally, we come to the funding, refresh, and refill phase. Firstly, advance the funding tracker and claim the number of credits indicated on the space it moves into, plus 1 for each mining facility you have active. Next, return any crew or assistant meeples to their respective players unless one of them is on the deep space scanner. That will resolve during the planning phase next round. Place a new alien ship on each space of the redeployment track and add an FRB to the first space, a skill token to the second, and a credit to the third. Then, refill the shield control if necessary by placing tokens on the room, making sure there are 2 on the first level, 3 on the second, and 4 on the third. With that, you've completed a round and will return to the planning phase to begin a new one. Play will continue like this until one of 3 things happens. If the Extinction track ever reaches the final space or the Eos command room is destroyed, then the players have lost the game. However, if you advance the progress track to the final space, then the players will begin the final dash and have a chance to win. When this happens, they'll finish up combat if they're currently fighting, then round structure changes significantly, with the current round ending immediately regardless of the current phase. Before starting the final dash, roll to determine where the Paradise Planet, which we'll call Bob, is located. Your final goal is to reach this space and clear out any hostile aliens in orbit. Begin by moving the alien ships, which works just like a normal alien movement phase, except that if a card shows an FRB, the ship will instead move towards Bob. If any alien ships engage the Eos this way, perform an alien attack phase as you would normally. After that, the Eos has a movement phase, wherein the pilot will move as normal, ultimately attempting to reach Bob. If the players engage any aliens along the way, they'll move into an Eos Attack Phase, but cannot retreat this time. The aliens know exactly where you're headed and will move to intercept, so your only option is to fight. If players have reached Bob and successfully defeated all aliens in orbit, then they are victorious and win the game. Otherwise, players will collect funding, but do not move the funding tracker, then have the opportunity to purchase power cubes and may take crew actions as normal. During the final dash, many normal steps are skipped. The Extinction track no longer advances, new aliens no longer spawn, event cards are not drawn, and the shield control room doesn't recharge, just to name a few important differences. You'll then repeat the final dash round until either the Eos is destroyed, or you've successfully reached Bob and cleared it of all hostile forces. That covers how to play Project Eos Rise, including the Away Missions mini-expansion. In addition, the rulebook also includes 3 quick start scenarios. With these, you won't do any rolling to randomize setup. Instead, you'll simply set it up according to the diagrams in the rulebook. Aside from that, quick start scenarios play identically to any other game. On to components, most of what we have here is pretty good. There's a wide variety of wooden tokens included, but most of these are shaped uniquely to suit the appropriate purposes. Cards don't have much in the way of art for them, their layouts are efficient and tell you everything that you need to know, and they're sufficiently thick while covered with protective texturing. Basic skill dice are white with the crew symbols printed to match their color, while advanced dice match the color of their respective crew and are printed white. The standard D6 and D20 are just that, industry standard white on black with engraved numbers. You also have a drawstring bag to store and mix up the alien ships. Player boards are dual layered, which of course helps prevent things from sliding out of place if you accidentally bump it or the table. The box itself is absolutely no larger than it needs to be. There is no room for an insert in here, but it does come with a handful of baggies to separate parts, though I should mention I did add my own. There is absolutely no wasted space in here. Even with everything organized, you have to pack things in carefully to get it all to fit. There's enough room for the mini expansion, but if any full-sized expansions release for the game in the future, they will not fit therein. All in all, Project Eos Rise is an impressive medium-weight game. It does a great job of capturing the wonder of exploring the universe and gives a very Star Trek-like feel to its experience. There's a lot that can happen in the game, and a lot of different ways you can pursue victory with the different skill tracks. But this is both the game's greatest strength and its greatest weakness. I've heard many players complain that most cooperative games are really just solo games with the roles divvied up, and there is some truth to this. However, even as someone who doesn't mind Mage Knight as a co-op, I do find that this one tends to be a much better solo experience. The main reason for this is the way that leveling up works. Each time you grab a skill token, you choose a crew member for it to go to. Although the rulebook does suggest ways that you can determine who earned it, ultimately, you're going to want to prioritize the needs of the ship at the mission at the time. This often means that levels will be lopsided, which isn't a problem at all in a solo game. However, if you're playing with 4 players and each one is playing as a single crew member, it does not feel good to be the one that's passing up skill tokens for the sake of the mission. That's not to say I didn't enjoy the game, I very much did. I highly recommend it to solo gamers. However, looking at it specifically as a co-op, I do find it's a significantly weaker experience that way. That being said, most of my plays have been solo, and I have thoroughly enjoyed it in that manner. I've managed to beat it on normal mode twice, but even on normal, it is no easy task. If you're looking for a superb, star-soaring sandbox solo saga, this one is for you. In conclusion, I find Project Eos Rise to be worthy of a respectable 8.7 out of 10. Project Eos Rise and the Away Missions mini expansion are both currently available directly through the Random Worlds game website. If you're interested in purchasing or learning more, links are included in the description. But what about you? What do you think of Project Eos Rise? What solo games do you enjoy? If you have any questions, remarks, or opposing points of view, leave them in the comments down below, and don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and ring that bell. If you really enjoy my work, please consider funding my channel on Patreon. Until next time, farewell, fellow fanatics. Thank you again for watching. I have plenty more to share with you if you're interested. You can click up here above my head to subscribe to my channel. You can click over here on my monitor to see the most recent video that I've worked on. Or if you prefer, you can click up here to open this mysterious vault and see what video that the YouTube algorithm has picked just for you.